Oh my god, everyone, there's a huge resin crisis in Genshin Impact. Nobody can level characters, everybody's stuck at certain points, the whales can't advance as fast as they want to, and yeah, that's a bunch of BS. Now, the resin system isn't perfect. It does need improvements. There's a few tweaks and everything to do, but I think a little bit of explanation is in order, and then I have my suggestions on how to make the perfect resin system. Now, sarcasm aside for the whales that, flat out hit the wall, don't have anything to do, and all they have to do when they log in is once they get a little bit of resin, it's like, I kill this boss, I do this little dungeon, I do this, or whatever, and now I'm bored because I can't do anything. Well, when you push that far that fast, guess what happens? Okay, the issue at hand. First up, I always call resin stamina. I always refer to it as stamina because in every gacha game known to man, and yes, this is a gacha game, it's kind of referred to as stamina or action point, stuff like that. But for whatever reason, Genshin Impact call it resin. But why is it even in the game? Okay, so resin is in the game to kind of put the brakes on you, all right? And everybody was like, why put the brakes on? Let me level the character, let me grind this, let me do this, let me do that. Well, what happens if you load up the game and a week later, all your characters are maxed, all the quests are done, your adventure rate gazillion, and there's absolutely nothing to do? What happens? You don't log in. Because at that point, you don't even need to log in for the 4 daily commissions. So the stamina is there, the resin is there. I'm going to keep calling it stamina all the time because I'm so used to that. The resin is there to put on the brakes. It's to slow you down a little bit. This is for the sole purpose of getting you to come back over time. Now, I don't just also mean, okay, well, I spent all my resin, I'll log out and I'll come back tomorrow. That's not how it works. That's not the pure intent of it. The pure intent of it is to get you to keep coming back before it gets filled up. Because, once it hits that maximum, once it hits that 120, what it currently is, well, the more time that passes, that's resin that you could accumulate, right? So it motivates a lot of people to get in, spend it before it actually fills up so that you're not wasting any time. You're not wasting any resin. That's one of the motivating factors. The other motivating factor is the primo gems, real life money. If they put the brakes on and say, hey, slow down, but we'll give you this little bit of an option to, go ahead and push a little further than normal, but it's going to cost you your primo gems. And, if you don't make enough in the game, well, you could spend some money to get some more and get some more. That's how gacha games work. Every gacha game I've ever played has always had a system where the premium currency in the game will allow you more stamina, more resin, more action points, whatever the case may be. And they make money doing that. That's why they want to put on the brakes. But there's also a balance to that. You don't want to, slam the brakes. If you slam the brakes, people are going to go flying out windshields and they're like, yeah, that's not fun. So you don't want to do that. You want to softly press the brakes just a little bit. And right now, Genshin Impact, they're not slamming the brakes on us, but they're braking pretty hard, where we don't have much time to react to that one. So what would be the most ideal system? Okay, first of all, if you end up raising the cap, a lot of people have already said, okay, well, if we go from 120 to 160, which they supposedly are going to make this change, if they go to 160, that doesn't really fix anything because the resin stamina refills at the exact same rate. So, while if you go to sleep and you wake up the next day, maybe it'll be full and you get a tiny little smidge of effort out of that. But yeah, it's not really going to make much of a difference. So what should we do? Now, I do think that 160 is actually a pretty good number. I wouldn't even mind 200. But 160 seems to be a good balanced number as long as other changes go along with it. What are those other changes? The other change would be, right now you get 1 resin every 8 minutes, right? Well, that's pretty slow, especially considering most other gacha games. Most other gacha games, it's like 1 every 6 minutes, 1 every 5 minutes. It's usually not that high. And considering that this game is fairly new, there's an awful lot of stuff to do in terms of grinding characters and everything, it doesn't make sense to have the resin refill at that slow of a rate. So I think if you go to 160, you should also have it 1 resin every 5 minutes. Shave 3 minutes off of that. It'll fill up quicker. And one of the reasons you want to do that is a lot of the times, some people run out of resin and they're like, okay, well, maybe I can go kill some monsters or whatever and start grinding little pieces here and there. Maybe I can go mine and get other materials, and well, maybe the resin will refill a little bit over time and I can do something else, right? Well, at 8 minutes, that's a horrible option because it's going to take a long time to fill it up at any good pace. So is 5 minutes better? Yes, 5 minutes is actually going to feel a lot better than 8. Granted, it's not that much of a difference, but in the long term and while you're playing, you're going to see it. You're going to feel it. It's going to feel a heck of a lot better, and you're going to feel that you can progress a little bit further without spending your primo gems. So 160 stamina cap and 1 tick every 5 minutes. That would be, in my opinion, the perfect scenario to fix that. But we're not done. We're not done. Now, a lot of people want to push, and for whatever reason, and from day one, I did not know why they're doing this. You have your fragile resin to refresh a little bit of it, and you also can use primo gems to refresh a little bit of it, and it's just 60. Well, that's crap. Think about it. Now, what they should be doing is when you refresh using primo gems, it refills stamina resin to cap, automatic to cap. So let's say you have 10 left, okay? And you want to use your primo gems to top it off. Well, it won't go to 160, it'll go to 170 because you have 10 left over. It will go over the cap slightly so that you don't waste it. So anytime primo gems are used or fragile resin, it should automatically cap full resin. And if you had any left over, it'll go slightly over the cap. Now, some games would argue, and a lot of games actually already do this, they don't give you the full amount if you do something like that. Instead, they give you like 100 or, three quarters of whatever it is. That would be an improvement too. I would be okay with that. But there's a lot of games out there that's like, okay, well, we'll top you off. It's all good. And that's probably the better way to do it. Another thing that they could do is make 120 the baseline, the flat baseline. And for every adventure rank level higher you get, that cap increases by, let's say, 2. So if you're 45, the cap increases to 90, which means you can have 210 resin. And chances are, the higher adventure rank you have, you've probably rolled and got more characters and did more grinding. So it would actually end up being a little bit more of a balancing effect. And that balancing effect would let you level multiple more characters at a similar pace. Instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to focus on this one and maybe this one. These 4 characters that I'd like to level up, well, in my case, one of them I have max constellation. I can't touch them because I'm working on these characters. Well, if you have that extra little oomph to go with, and you can use your primo gems to do other things, well, we can focus on those other characters. Now, and that's the thing. That's one reason why these changes really should be implemented and really quick, because in typical gacha fashion, the whales get all the characters, they get them all leveled up to max, they get them all max, everything. That's what the whales do. But even in this scenario, apparently the whales are still having a really, really hard time getting anything done. Now, there's some people out there that don't really care for the whales, right? And they're like, oh, they're spending all this money to get all that. That's what they do. But it's actually a good measuring stick. If a whale spending thousands upon thousands of dollars cannot get their characters leveled up to cap within a reasonable amount of time, then that's an overall issue with the game itself and the system that it's using. The whales should be able to basically max out everything by the time the next patch or next major content comes around. If they are not able to do so, then you know that your system is probably broke. The whales are giving you the money, okay? Don't worry about that. They don't have to worry about that. What they do have to worry about is the other people. The whales spend a lot of money, but that's not a majority of money that these games make. A majority of it are for smaller transactions for more casual players, and if those casual players can't feel that they can advance in the game, then it's done. Okay, so if you just to go over it completely, instead of 120 cap, let's put it to 160. Instead of 1 resin every 8 minutes, let's make it 5 minutes. If you use Primo Gems, make sure that the Primo Gems completely top you up, or at least 3/4. At least 3/4. So if the cap goes to 160 and you use a resin or Primo Gems, it should go to at least like 120 or something like that. So something along those lines. And another thing, probably the last thing they need to look at is Primo Gems are really difficult to earn in the game. Like, you get a whole bunch early on getting all those chests and everything, but once you get done with that, it's a snail's pace. It goes to nothing. And, opening up a chest and getting 1 Primo Gem or 10 Primo Gems or 2 Primo Gems, it goes so incredibly slow. What they need to do is either raise those little rewards up, and especially the achievements. The achievements are horrible. There's some achievements that I look at as like, man, it's going to take me months and months and months to get this, and then my reward is 10 Primo Gems, which is essentially worthless. So yeah, Primo Gems, in terms of refilling your resin, the cost needs to be adjusted. The first time you refill the resin, right now it's 50. I'm thinking 20. 20 is a little more fair. If you want to do it the second time, then we can pop it to 50. Okay, or probably a little bit more fair, 40, just a little bit down. Third time you pop it, let's take that up to 60, then 80, then 100. Do that. That seems perfectly and utterly reasonable to me. And plus, you're still burning those Primo Gems, and you're still burning those Primo Gems at a faster rate than people are really going to earn them in the game. So you still have your money cash cow there. So 160 resin, point every 5 minutes. Refills on Primo Gems, cheaper and fuller for your resin. And right there, you're going to solve all the issues. With that, like, subscribe, hit that notification button. If you think it's a good idea, post in the comments. Let me know if you have a better idea. And believe me, I ain't super genius about this or anything. I'm sure other people have better ideas. Put it in the comments. If you think I'm completely wrong, dumb, and stupid, put that in the comments too. Because, hey, constructive criticism or not, I can take it. We'll see you in the next video.